You're listening to the Big Sci Fi Podcast,
the biggest sci-fi podcast in the galaxy.
You're listening to the Big Sci Fi Podcast, the biggest sci-fi podcast in the galaxy, with Adeena, Brian, Cris, and Steve. We're a part of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network, and we're having more fun than ever celebrating our 10th season and 4 years of friendship talking all things science fiction. Calling all sci-fi fans, you're invited to the party. Let's have some fun. Star Trek has always been about blazing forward into the unknown, exploring strange new worlds, deepening our knowledge, and being open to possibilities. It's always been a vehicle for exploring the human experience. When The Next Generation debuted on television in the latter half of the 1980s, it was met with a great deal of controversy and criticism. How dare they mess with our crew, our ship, our universe that we love so much? Then one day, TNG actually took over the mantle and became the staple of a whole new generation's idea of what the future could look like. Enter Deep Space Nine, and a whole new era of controversy began yet again. It's too dark, they said. A black commander, they said. They even said, "Where's the ship?" Enter Voyager. A whole new era of controversy began again. A female captain? This Trek looks like nothing more than left-wing liberal propaganda, they said.
Oh, my.
Enterprise rolled around, and people were just tired and scared. After all, the dust had barely settled from that horrific day in New York City that history remembers simply as 9/11. J.J. Abrams revived the franchise with his set of 3 films. Fans were not altogether satisfied even then. These films had their fair share of critical and even harsh responses from fans who seemed content to enjoy only those original Star Trek episodes, or perhaps maybe now, the Next Generation episodes. Discovery blasts onto the scene, and the same old argument and the same old complaints abounded. A black main character again? This Trek is definitely woke, they said.
Okay.
SMH. A couple of cartoons debuted, and fans seemed to love those, generally speaking. Strange New Worlds came out of Discovery and received more favorable responses from fans overall, but it still seems to stir a primordial anger in some because they claim it's not their father's show. OMG. Starfleet Academy shows up with a new look, new faces, new ideas, and new adventures geared towards winning a whole new generation of fans. And wouldn't you know it, the critics within the fandom are still raging. We here at the Big Sci-Fi Podcast will spend the next hour or so discussing this latest adventure, this latest show and crew. We're focusing on the first 5 episodes of Starfleet Academy. At a later point, we'll probably cover the second half of the season. Today, we are joyfully gathered together as a Big Sci-Fi Podcast family to joyfully talk about a show we are all really excited about, for the most part. This is the Big Starfleet Academy episode. And now that I've just talked for half an hour, I'd like to introduce to you my co-hosts, Adeena Mignona from Maryland. How you doing, Adeena?
I'm doing great. How is everybody?
Oh, I'm just peachy. A little ornery, as you can tell from that intro, though. And Steve, how are you doing, sir? All the way in sunny Los Angeles.
Brian, all great soliloquies need to be long. They don't have to be like, that's what I thought. No, you did a great job of touching all the bases on all the shows.
Thank you, sir.
And even TOS had its distractors.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yes. And Christian Fox, all the way from Toronto, Canada. How you doing, sir?
I am good. The weather is a little bit better. I think we're up to like -2, -1 today, which is a big deal. It's been very cold.
Right? Celsius?
Yes, Celsius.
Okay.
Yeah.
Still, that's between 0 Fahrenheit and 32 Fahrenheit. So
Still very cold.
I think
still very cold.
Well, it was like 30 like a few days ago. So it's been a lot. But as far as your speech, Brian, you know what? You're the captain. And as Troy once said, I don't know which episode she said it, but she said, you're the captain, sir. You're entitled. And it's a very good speech because I feel like people keep forgetting how much people didn't like the previous shows when they first came out.
Yes.
And it seems to happen
Every
over
single
and
one
over
of them.
again.
Every single one of them.
Every single one of them.
Yeah.
I remember the next gen. Now, Steve can, we'll let Steve talk about the original if he wants. Now, we need to make sure we have room for Starfleet Academy, which is why we've all really gathered. But I do remember as a young kid and all the hype around Next Generation, and then Deep Space Nine and Voyager in particular, and how they had their detractors. They had people not happy that we had a British captain.
With a French name.
British
What the heck?
actor playing our captain.
And just that it wasn't Kirk, Spock, McCoy. You know, just like there was a lot of like, is this going to work with a new crew and a new Enterprise? I remember that. I do remember that.
And for me, it was Enterprise. Like I started watching it like way into TNG, and then I think I was too young to really know what was happening in terms of the fandom with Voyager and DS9. But I remember like Enterprise was the first Trek that I watched that was brand new, and I remember just hearing about how much people didn't like it. They didn't like the theme song, which I love, and they didn't like that it was, I guess, that it was a prequel, and just so many things. But now I feel like only now I feel like people are starting to really appreciate Enterprise.
And the same thing applies to, as you've said before, Brian, how DS9 is getting a lot more looks back, and even the documentary that was made getting into it has showing how much people realize that the level of story writing and depth of story was there in DS9.
Yes. And I think what's interesting through all of this is some of the same themes have remained within the fandom. People that do not like the next thing that's coming out, and I think what is making me click my tongue, if that's even a phrase. I say it all the time, but my wife always criticizes. Nobody knows what you mean. What I mean by click my tongue is like, and shake my head and like go,
you're tisking, tisking.
Yeah, you're tisking. Is that what it is? Okay, thank you. I knew Adeena would point me in the right direction. So. But what's crazy to me is this, maybe I'm more sensitive to it now because of other stuff happening in the world. And as a pastor, things that concern me that I'm very sensitive about, like racism. Hate it in all forms and everywhere it hides. It's revolting to me and abominable that abhorrent that this still exists in the world. And so some of that is what seems to be lacing some of the conversation around Starfleet Academy. And I know it happened in the past in various different ways, but this time for me, it just seems like it's a little bit crazy and out there, and is a sign of the times we live in, frankly, and how divided we can be on so many different issues. And yet it screams, my fellow podcasters, as to why we need more shows like Star Trek to keep showing us what the future could look like, what working together can look like. We don't do it perfectly, but we get there, we learn, we grow. And so I'm saying, let's do more.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, I agree with you, Brian, that there is something different about this compared to when, say, Discovery was coming out. Like, people were, like, not happy about it. And I remember even having my own concerns. I mean, I don't love Discovery. I enjoyed aspects of it, but it wasn't, for me, it wasn't, like, the show that I was mostly excited about. I enjoyed parts of it. But the fandom was very much like, oh, gosh, like, they're going to have, Spock can't have a brother, like, or have a sister. That's too much. That's too much divergence from the continuity that we know. But it wasn't laced in, I don't want to say it's hate, but it felt a lot calmer in 2017. 2017 felt like it was a better, well, actually 2017, that's when things started to get a little bit rough shall we say, in the US, but
Yeah.
it still felt like, I don't know, like racism wasn't as, like racism's always there.
That
but I
was
feel
not
like
the
people
reason
are-
people were upset with
Yeah.
Discovery. It was
And
not
people-
that. Yeah, it was not.
We're not as
anyone's
vocal
race.
about their
Well,
racist beliefs as they
right.
are now, I should
They
say.
didn't like it because of the potential breaks from what they perceive as canon and these other
Right.
things, right? Not this other, oh, it's too woke stuff.
Yeah,
Although
and
it devolved into that.
Mhm.
As Discovery went on, people then
Yes,
started
yeah.
being like, "Hey, we don't like this because of this," which is
What's Stacey Abrams doing on the show? She's, some people were a little upset that why is this, ultra liberal on the show, and and
well,
she,
all
that was-
the things. But I think I'm going to agree with Brian. It is a sign that like, no, we need more. We need more of this showing up so we can normalize. Like, no, really, everyone belongs here and belongs in this future and everything. So, and I think though, that's what the writers and creators and producers of the show think, which is why they're even leaning into it more because it's like, yeah, no, we're not backing down. We need to do this. And so the way it differs from older Trek in that way is, I think in Next Generation, even TOS, a lot of that stuff was more subtle. Like Uhura, she was just there, and no one made a big deal of it. It was just there. It was normal. Where in the modern shows, they are, I would say, deliberately making a big deal of it, but I think for good reason. I think because of the time, because of the times.
Yeah, even like the doctor saying during the debate episode, like, hey, you have to stick to the facts, and those facts have to be real and have to be true. It's like that was a very pointed, okay, sign of the times. We're going to have a comment on this. We're going to have a conversation about it.
Yeah.
And so I think that part of it's great that they are trying to really be more vocal, I guess, than even what we're used to, as you said.
Yeah, it's not as thinly veiled as it was in the original series. Because the original series, we always known it as, these are stories, these are commentaries on the time, but they were disguised. In order to be on the air, they were disguised. Roddenberry disguised it, right?
Yes.
We're not disguising it now. That's really the difference. Is we're being more overt. We're not disguising it.
And that, I think, is a real problem for some people who are apparently not ready to have real discussion about the racial divide, or that it even, frankly, that it even exists. I happen to know some people who will deny that racism exists in America.
Well, and it's not just race. It's also, sexual orientation and
It's
gender.
everything.
It's all of those things.
Everything.
It's all of the stuff.
It's one religion to another.
Yep.
It's color of skin. It's sexual orientation. It's every aspect of life, it seems like, and it's driving me crazy to see just like, let's have real conversations. Let's sit down over coffee, or let's have a meal at a table, which is disarming. It's one of the great disarming things we can do as human beings with each other, is share a meal together and actually talk face to face. There's something that happens that just is marvelous. And so we need more of that. And I love that debate. Cris mentioned the debate episode. I do want to take a few steps back as we get into the episodes but I love that debate episode because it really was a marvelous episode, in my opinion. And it really showed like, hey, truth does matter. And I think that is a struggle we have in our society today is, depending on what you're liking on social media, that's what social media is feeding you. And
It's an
so
echo chamber.
there is so many people who don't realize they're only being fed one side of the story.
Well, they only listen to one side of the story.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so we need to be open to deeper discussion, deeper debate. So, speaking of deeper discussion and deeper debate, let's start back. I want to ask you guys an origin question about this show. And what I want is your initial reactions when you saw the first trailer or saw images of this show. Were you excited, intrigued? Were you like, oh, I wish they would do Legacy instead? You know, I mean, like anything's open here for how we felt when we first, when this show became a reality and we saw images and trailers for it. So let's let Steve go first this time.
Well, knowing or anticipating it showing up and wanting to watch it, definitely I did. And I came away with this thought. It's a nice show, but it's not a great show. Strange New Worlds. Now that's a great show. And I like that show. And I'm not comparing one to the other. I'm just saying how the anticipation, like you said, of the next episode. It's definitely was always there with Strange New Worlds. And I use that example because Elaine, my wife, who's not a Trekkie, looked forward to the next episode of Strange New World.
Yeah, my wife did too.
She is watching this with me, but she doesn't have that enthusiasm that she has for Strange New Worlds. Someone online said that the show reminds them of 90210 in outer space. And maybe that is in some degree true. Is it saying there's something wrong with the show? No, but that is the style of the show that they've established. And like I said, the characters are nice. The setup is nice. It's a nice show, but it doesn't, to me, have the conflict or that some of the other shows have had from TOS and forward.
What I want to pull on one thread on the 90210 thread.
Yeah.
I saw this post, and you ever see something and you're kicking yourself because you can't find it after and you don't save it. You don't do anything.
I just saw it once just pop up myself. I don't even know who said it or where it came from, but it was just there. There was a specific post, and I've got my browser open in the background because I'm kind of like, I feel like I really want to actually find this. I think it was in the Star Trek Wholesome Posting group on Facebook, but it could not, maybe it wasn't, maybe it was in a different group, and this is why I can't find it. But this person, the way he said it is that the show is not for him, but he still finds it to be a beautiful show. Something about how, while he doesn't necessarily see himself in any of the characters because he was a 40-something-year-old man, he appreciates that there are a lot of people who might not have seen themselves in another Trek series that will see themselves in this.
Yes.
And it was a lovely, lovely post. I am going to find it because I want to share, because I've shared it, because I think the way he had written it was like perfect, where this might not be exactly for me, but that's okay because it's for other people, and that's great because that shows more diversity, and that's what everything is supposed to be about.
And the thing is that some people may have turned it off already. I'm not that person. I'm going to watch because I don't know what the next episode's going to bring. And I'll tell you right now, episode 5, that's the episode I was waiting for.
I love. The most recent 5, episode.
We got to get into that.
It is exactly what I was hoping for. It had humor, it had drama, it had character development, and I got to say, when I first started watching it, I thought that Sam was a lightweight, but she's become like Tilly. You like her; she's funny. There's a childlike quality about her that appeared in this episode. Besides, as I think I said to you, it got me to watch the last episode of DS9 because I had to know what the heck happened to Cisco, what they were talking about, because I didn't remember it. So that is a reward from the episode.
Yeah.
We should probably point out for our listeners, I don't think we said this yet, that we're recording this after having watched the first 5 episodes.
Yes. Yes.
So we are, by the time you're listening to this, there'll be a few more episodes out, but we just stopped at episode 5.
And we didn't say, spoiler alert, because this is going to come out a month after where we are right now. So if you haven't watched the show already, well, then you're not going to watch it. And so it doesn't really matter.
Maybe, guys, just maybe, because this has happened with other movies, with other episodes. Some of our fans hear us talk about something they have never paid any attention to or watched, and they listen to us. And occasionally I've had people say, I watched that film because you guys covered it, or I rewatched that episode because you guys intrigued me and I thought I didn't like it, or I thought it was different, and I watched the episode and I love the episode now. So maybe we'll change some minds. Maybe we won't. But you know what? Are we here to change minds necessarily? No. But I also want to bring up something. I think that when we talk about Star Trek, we all have our favorites. We all have our shows that we cling to, characters we cling to. It is okay not to like Starfleet Academy. It's okay, guys. It's totally fine. We're not Star Trek fans or Trekkies that are going to hate on you for not liking it.
Correct.
But what we are kind of asking and sometimes surprised at is the level of hate that comes out when people don't like a show. And sometimes the reasons for that is like, hey, just don't watch it, man. Don't watch it.
Yeah.
Like, why are you gonna go in a bunch of groups and on Facebook and everywhere and just vomit about it and spew kind of that frustration and maybe even a tinge of hatred? Like, let's just, and I'm trying to have a little grace here too. Like I know that people are emotional about this thing we call Trek. And maybe if they don't like it, they're feeling let down, disappointed. That's okay. I get it, you know? But it's okay not to like it. Let's just move on though, and not make it about a bunch of other stuff, you know?
Right, exactly.
Let's have fun. Enjoy the thousands and thousands of hours of Trek that you do love. And maybe the next series they make, the next movie they make, you will absolutely love it and have something new to watch. And so, so the trailers came out. I remember going, "Oh my gosh, this is a great direction." I'm going to admit, I was not a huge Discovery fan. I watched it all though. I thought there was a lot of lovely stuff in it. There's things I liked about it, things I didn't like about it. There's things I didn't like about Next Generation and Deep Space Nine, my two typical favorites, you know?
You don't have to be enamored with every single second and in love with every detail just to love the show, to like generally love the show. It's okay to not.
It's stupid.
If you have a disagreement, you are not a hater. You just have a disagreement, period.
I question it when people have nothing they don't like about a show. Like, I love absolutely every aspect of this. Like, oh, I don't think you're watching close enough.
And if you don't like it, you must be a moron. Someone posted online.
Right.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. So
none of those things are true.
So we're getting along here this evening as we talk about this. Of course, we might have some disagreements here and there, and that's fine. But hey, you know what friends do? We talk it out. We agree to disagree. We hug at the end of the night, although it's virtual hugs for us.
Yeah, it's virtual.
It's for different parts of the world here. So it debuts. And I got to admit, I was not super thrilled with it being so far out in the future. I would have been very intrigued by a next gen era show or a legacy show. But I love the idea of Academy because that's been out there. I don't know if you guys remember years ago, Next Gen Deep Space Nine was out. There was an Academy kind of series for kids, a book series. That was actually pretty decent. It did Worf at the Academy. I think Riker too. But so this idea has been floated out there. There's been novels about it, all that sort of stuff, and then occasional episodes. But I gotta say, as I've watched these, the opening episode in particular, I was hooked on the whole premise because they need it. They need to go back to their roots. They need to figure out how to raise up a next generation, pun intended, of Starfleet officers that are not driven or trained solely by the concept of war and maintaining something. That they're returning to being explorers again, and I love that.
Yeah, I'm with you. I saw the trailers and read about it. I was like, this looks interesting. I was intrigued by it. I still really want Legacy, and my first thought was, well, I want Legacy, but I like the fact that they were going in a different direction. We were going to be able to actually see the Academy and see what it's like to be on the Academy, but I didn't expect to love it. But then I watched the first episode with Dill because she was also interested. And I think by the end of the first episode, we were hooked and we're like, okay, this is now going to be our Thursday show. Most of the time, it's still not our Thursday show, which I will respect.
Friday
but I'm like,
show,
okay,
weekend show. It's
patiently waiting for the weekend so we can watch it. I'll say
it is streaming
last week. Last week was tough because I couldn't watch it on Thursday. Then I kept seeing things online. I was trying to like just not look online, and I'm like, I felt like it was Christmas morning. But yeah, we like it a lot, and it's been really fun being able to have a show that she also really enjoys and brand new Trek. And I'm trying not to like look at trailers to see what the next episode is about because I just like turning it on and being okay, what are we watching today? So yeah, I've been impressed, and I just love that we actually get to see Starfleet Academy. I think, Brian, you're right. Like it would have been, I would have liked it in some ways if it had been in the TNG era, just because that's like my favorite era. It also wouldn't make the Doctor so depressing, which I find is such an interesting aspect that I hope we can explore more. Like, how do you grieve when your family, the people that you essentially grew up with, because you didn't grow up, but when you first activated, it was with the Voyager crew, and now those people are 800, like they've all died, and that's like 800 years ago for him, and he's clearly grieving and trying to process it. So it's fascinating, but there's also something just like, oh my gosh, all my favorite people are gone. But I also like being able to see, how do you pronounce her name? Tigantiro?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes. It was.
And she's finally
Jet
getting
Reno.
her due. Because I felt like for so many seasons of Discovery, it was like, oh, we're going to have her character come back. She's going to be more fleshed out. And she really wasn't. But now I feel like they found a sweet spot with her.
It's
So
funny
I'm
you say
liking
that,
that.
Chris, because she's my favorite character on the show.
Yeah.
Every
And Dill
time
loves
she's
her
on,
too.
she owns the scene, and she's
Yeah.
hilarious. Her dry humor, I love it, especially like the whole dinner bit.
The dinner, we still
was
can't figure out the
just
soup
great.
thing. How do you
I'm
eat
not going
soup
to do
with,
that.
with
Yeah,
a full,
I love her.
with a
I'm distracted
whole
by
thing.
this non-traditional spoon or this.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Very
Yeah.
matter of fact. I love that style of humor, and she does it so well. And I think I've never seen her stand-up comedy, but I would suspect it's dry,
she's
just
funny.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, she's pretty
Yes.
funny.
No,
So,
you
yeah,
should definitely
overall-
watch her stand up.
Yeah, I'm loving it. I'm looking forward to every episode.
Good. So the humor, since we're there, let's talk about the humor. I find the humor in this show really refreshing. Does it have a level of young people pizzazz? That sounds like I'm anciently old myself to say young people pizzazz. What the heck
Young
does that
people
mean?
pizzazz.
I mean, just
Oh
the
my
fact that you're
gosh.
using the term
I'm-
young people makes you
Yes.
kind of old, dude.
I like the
thank
word
you.
pizzazz.
I am
That is
5 years
really
out from being
old.
40. By the way,
So I just, it's got that kind of college age, going back and forth, being very blunt and sarcastic with each other. I think as far as that humor goes, it's done well, and I laugh almost every time you're supposed to laugh. I find it refreshing, and I don't have a problem with that aspect of the show personally.
yeah,
Okay, but
I
the
agree.
humor, there's a lot of humor, like Holly Hunter's character and her lines. I mean, a lot of humor starts there.
That's very true,
And
with the Doctor.
one of the things I've been noticing though is people keep focusing on the kids when I'm like, I'm sorry, hello. Some of the main characters, including Holly Hunter's character, like they're postmenopausal women. And what I've seen, one of the things that's been the part that's been bothering me. So there is this, I'm going to say, cultural stereotype that now that I am in my early 50s, I clearly see it because I'm living it. This idea that we as women, when we reach a certain age, we become invisible. And I'm living it. It's there. Okay. So what I've been seeing online too is a lot of the men that talk about this show. And I hate to basically be like, all men are like this or all women are like this, but I'm just like, it's just so bizarre
Yeah.
that when I see a lot of men complain about this show, they're talking about this show as if it's only these kids and the postmenopausal women don't exist.
That is interesting. That is so
it's
interesting.
weird because that's what I feel like. It's like, hello, okay, like what about these other characters? You're just talking about, complaining about. You're not addressing these other amazing characters, and maybe you don't think they're amazing, but it's like the invisibility is like carrying onto the screen too.
Which is interesting. You say that, Adeena, because I gravitate to the adults in the room in watching the show, and I can relate to them. The doctor, Tig, the captain, the drill sergeant character. I forget what her name is. She's the half Jen
Hadar.
The half
Jen
Hadar.
Right. Again, they're the adults in the room. And so I can relate to them even more so. Even when the villain at the very first episode is like acting like a child in the camera, that's I relate to those characters more.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was gonna say I didn't watch the trailer, but like I watched the trailer the day before the show came out.
Oh wow, okay.
Well, and this is just because I tend to try to avoid seeing stuff too far ahead of time because I'd rather just kind of be surprised. Like I've obviously been aware that this show was coming out for a while, but I'm like, no, I just don't need to. I don't need to know anything. I don't need to see anything. And it's similar to how when we watch something for the podcast, I don't want to know anything ahead of time. I'm just happy going cold. So, I saw some of the pictures posted online of the characters, but I really didn't I didn't look. I didn't go seeking out anything till like the day. But no, the first long episode was amazing. I was not as amazed. I liked the other couple episodes, but yes, this most recent one that focused on Sam was awesome. But I also knew in the first episode, I knew that Holly Hunter's character was my favorite, hands down, because again, she is a postmenopausal, I don't give any Fs, which like a completely like that's where I'm at. Right.
But what century did she go through menopause since she's 400 years old?
It doesn't matter. I mean, okay, but it doesn't matter that her character, she's in Lantern. But the fact is that's what she's representing. That is what she's representing.
Right, exactly. A mature woman.
Right.
A mature
but also,
woman.
But again, we've got several of them. You have Tig's character too, and Gina's character. You have several of them, which is awesome, but none as right there, like as Holly Hunter's character. And that to me has been like awesome because I think when we've talked about Picard, the series Picard, and I know you guys have heard me probably talk about how I'm amazed at Michelle Hurd's character and in 7 of 9, how they're also like in their 50s and like kicking butt and really physical.
Oh yeah, like
so
just
the fact
owning
that
it.
right on screen there has been a lot of true change in the fact that women of a certain age are no longer like just the grandmother or something like that. They can kick butt or they can be their postmenopausal I don't give any F selves, and I'm loving it. I'm loving it, but I'm feeling like the only other people who are loving it are the people in us in the same situation, and I feel like everyone else is ignoring it. Is what that's what I'm feeling or seeing / feeling.
Yeah. Well, I think the show has a very well-rounded cast. Like I honestly believe there is something for everyone. There is a character for everyone in this show if you'll only give it a shot. You know, you don't have to, again, love everything about it. You don't have to love all the aspect or all the characters, whatever. But there is something like even I mean, if you're a Stephen Colbert fan, for crying out loud,
it's pretty cool.
I mean,
to have him on
like
the-
what a neat way to have someone like him on the show. I mean, Gina Yashir with Laura Tharp, the half
she's
Jem
perfect.
Hadar, and terrific. Of course, we have Bob Picardo, who's been on the show here at the Big Sci Fi Podcast. I mean, you can pick any one of the cadets. I love that they brought a Betazoid in. I'm finding that interesting. Holly Hunter is superb.
Yeah,
I'm really warming up to her character. I'm liking her. A lot.
Her comedic timing and her ability to feel kind of. I feel like this is a little bit of a stretch, guys. So bear with me here, but I feel like she really kind of has an essence of Dax in her, where she can be
I could see that.
very kind of childlike isn't the right word, just easygoing, very
Easygoing.
relaxed,
Yeah, I could
but
see if
in
you said she was a
fun-loving.
Dax.
Yeah,
I could say,
but
oh
at
yeah,
the same
I totally buy
time,
that.
she can definitely pull the, hey, I am actually a captain. I am actually have some experience. Like, what is it? 400 years experience. Like she can do both of those really well. And I have a new favorite character in this show as of this last episode, and that is Chancellor Kelrick.
Really?
And here's why. And it's my current favorite. You know, at first it was Holly Hunter, then it was Laura Thok or Gina Yashir playing Laura Thok. But this past episode, Raul, I don't know if I can say his last name, Banea maybe. And I've seen him in a ton of other stuff too recently, but I just love that in this last episode, he kind of went on a journey, maybe the last couple episodes where he's had some featured parts in it. I love that they had him loosen up with Holly Hunter's character.
Yeah.
I just think his journey in that episode was really wonderfully written and well portrayed as well. I love it when characters grow and develop about as much as anything in storytelling and in watching television and movies. When you see a character take some steps forward that is hard for them, that's difficult, that's uncomfortable, I get a real kick out of that. So I also want to talk about with you guys, get your thoughts on. I agree with Adeena. The premiere episode that was a little longer, I felt it was a great setup for the show. I would say that rivals any of the premieres of any of the shows that Star Trek has ever produced. It's that good in my opinion. Okay. Is it the best? I don't know. I'd have to go back and watch every single one again, which I'm happy to do. I'm not going to lie. Okay. I'll go back and watch them.
There's a lot of good ones. I love rewatching a lot of the classic premieres.
But I'm with Adeena, and I think this is where as fans, we just need to take a chill pill or realize that sometimes they have to, in every Star Trek we've ever had, there are seasons that are mostly good, but they still have some episodes that are definitely weaker. That are not going to be some of the best we remember. And I think that's happened already in the first 5 episodes, but that's okay. I think the episode where Jaden Krag's character, the Klingon at the Academy, felt like that was episode 4. It felt like that was really well done in its own way. And then this past episode where, lo and behold, they bring in Sirach to play Jake again.
Yes.
What?
Yeah.
I did not watch anything about this. It was a total surprise to me when I watched the episode. And I cried through it. Like it was like, woo.
And not just that surprise, but the other surprise, the other character that they brought in too.
Can I tell?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay,
Cris.
you can, but just so we make sure. Again, if you are listening to this, if you have any interest in the show and you have not seen the episode with Sam, episode 5 with Sam, and you like to be surprised, you like to be pleasantly surprised, pause this and go watch that, or stop listening to this, because we're going to say the other part now. Because I did know a little bit about, like, I had waited a day or two. I caught a glimpse of Sirach, an image online. So I was spoiled a little bit there. That was going to be hard. But this other one, to me at least, was kept a secret, and I was so pleasantly surprised.
Oh,
okay. So stop
Cris,
the
go ahead.
episode. Cris,
Tell my
Cris.
story. So Dill is a Trekkie. I never thought I would marry a Trekkie. I never thought it would be possible. But I did, and even knowing that she's a Trekkie, us watching DS9 all the time, doing all that stuff, I did not expect that we would have a moment where we would look at each other in unison yell, "She's a Dax!" I was so excited. Like we were just like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe they brought her back."
Newsom.
Yep.
And this
Yeah,
episode
and
was also co-written by Tawny Newsome, I believe.
Yeah. She's
Yes.
I remember
obviously she
catching
killed
that.
it as Mariner, but she's like killing it in the writing and it just fits. And to know that she also just loves DS9.
Well, yeah, she's
it's
a
like the
huge
perfect combination.
DS9 fan.
Yeah.
She has said this before. To the thing is, we've heard her on interviews and on stage where she talks about the Lower Decks episode that they were on Deep Space Nine, and her character wasn't originally supposed to be in it. And when she found out, she went to the writer's producer and she's like, "Are you kidding me? You're doing a Deep Space Nine episode without my character." So they did find a way to get her in at least a little bit because she was, which yeah, sure, it makes sense. So so the fact that she wrote basically a love letter to Deep Space Nine is what this episode was, is amazing, and I think it came out so well. The other subtle thing that I love, and again, so after Holly Hunter's character, after Nala. Sam is my favorite character. And I knew that also in the first episode when we first met Sam. And I knew that because, my favorite character in Next Generation is Data. My favorite character from Voyager is the Doctor. Again, I gravitate towards AI. So Sam being one of my favorite characters a priori, just based on the fact that she's an AI, again, yes. And so I was so happy that this character did it justice. Okay, but the character I want to talk about for just a second is the Doctor. And what's fascinating when you think about, you have now this character that is 900 years old, 900 years worth of memories to sift through and whatever. And how does that come out? And it's interesting that, like, kind of as an aside, when he's talking to Sam, he's like, "Oh yeah, I met Jake Sisko." Like, it's almost like it never would have occurred to him to bring forth certain historical things that he may or may not know that are buried in it. Like, what is in this guy's memory that like he's a walking amazing historical archive, and is that really being like tapped and used, and is his memory backed up somewhere? I mean, the Lanthanites are cool too, and I love the Lanthanites, but he's also another interesting, like, basically walking digital archive.
And I assume he has like perfect recall, so anything he remembers, it's like instant.
Data
or
degradation.
like it's like in perfect
maybe
detail.
not. Maybe it's not. Because like just a normal computer memory degrades, especially over time. There's a lot of things that like can degrade stuff. So
I would just assume with like all the future tech that he has access to, there's probably, and then of course they fixed some of that problem.
Limits. There's got to be some fundamental
in
limit.
Voyager.
It's called the writers.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you,
but that's what I'm saying
Brian.
is like I wouldn't necessarily expect it to be perfect. Like, maybe he underwent something, in those 900 years, maybe some things have happened where he's lost like chunks. And
Well, he even said how he decided to age himself.
Yeah.
Reprogram himself to look, of course, how he looks now as an older gentleman from when he was originally on 30 years ago. So yeah, I think they did that same thing, and they did that in Picard as well. That when they made an android of him, or
right. Well, and obviously they're doing some practicality because of the screen and using the same actor's real life. But the thing is, I think it's an interesting thing. If we think about, because I think about this all the time. I even address this in my own books with robots. Is the idea of how much data gets collected that is just it's worthless, and this is one of the things. Right. Well, this is one of the reasons why our own brains, we don't remember everything perfectly in a lot of ways, is because so much of it is clutter. You do not need to have perfect recall of your day, because most of your day, like you're doing things you do not need to remember. And so at some point with our computer systems too, like, I am a pack rat for my data, but like, out of the terabyte of data I have sitting here on this desktop, I probably don't need most of it, And so similar thing. You have a data collecting thing over 900. Yes, he could have perfect recall, but maybe there's an algorithm that filters out the junk. And so he doesn't. And like I said, I did something like this with my robots because like the robots in my book, they have a storage problem because at some point, there are physical capacity, there are physical limits to storage. So you got to deal with that somehow. And so anyway, I am hoping that somewhere we get some more nuggets and tidbits of what's happening under the hood with the Doctor over 900
Yeah,
years.
I want to hear more about his processing of grief. Like when he just like, I don't want to talk about the Protostar crew or Voyager. Like I want to hear how he's dealing with it, because in my own like frame of mind, it's like it'll be this September. Not to get too down, but like this September will be 5 years since my mom passed, and it's like okay, obviously I remember her really well, and but there's little things where I'm like, do I remember her voice perfectly? But it's 5 years since I've had a conversation with her, and that's only going to get harder as the years go by. And I'm like, what's that like to, again, you're 900 years old and these people, you knew them 800 years ago or whatever. And it's like, how are you processing that? So I find that really interesting. I also want to bring up one of the things that I found comforting about the episode was hearing Jake talk about how much he felt that his dad was still there for him, even when he did go off with the prophets. Because I was always like, I don't know if there was a, like, maybe they just didn't have enough time in the episode to do it, but I was always kind of bothered that there wasn't a scene between Cisco, Jake and Benjamin, when he's like, hey, I have to go do this. That doesn't mean I don't love you any less, but I have to go. And I was always kind of bothered that it was just with Cassidy. So to hear him reflect and say, no, even when he wasn't there, he was always there for me and he was always a part of my life. And I became a father, and to see that this Jake was able to live his life and work through his father going away essentially in a way that his alternate self wasn't able to like move on in the Visitor episode.
Right, exactly.
So it was nice to see that, okay, even though it's a very different set of circumstances, it was comforting to see that Jake was able to move on. He was able to get married, have children, and continue to write.
Definitely. Yeah. I there is a little cookie cutterness to the show, and they have brought up themes from other characters that I noticed, and maybe it's not intentional, but it seems to be. And when I watched the opening sequence of the main character, his name popped out of my brain. Wow. Caleb. Thank you, Caleb. I was flashing back to Rogue One, and young boy or young person separated from its parent on his own for 15 years, found again, is a prisoner because they've had a checkered past going forward. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a great theme and it worked really well. But it reminded me of that of the, you know, the origin story. And then when Caleb meets what her name is, the young his love interest is
Tarina Sutto.
Thank you. I had a very Jasmine and Aladdin type feel from that. You know, here's the princess and here's the pauper, and they're coming together, even though they're from separate worlds and separate societies. They come together, which is almost. And then when she joins, she's in the War College and he's in Starfleet Academy. Now you've got kind of Romeo and Juliet, where we love we really feel for each other, which they culminate their affection for each other in the 5th episode. Spoiler, kids. Again, but these are themes that people feel comfortable with.
I love a love story.
I think they brought that forward.
So let me ask you guys this, Steve. I think those are very the Rogue One thing in particular is intriguing. And Adeena had a audible reaction to that too, so it resonated. I want to ask you guys specifically because it's a big deal in the Star Trek universe and in the Star Trek lore. How do you feel about that 4th episode? And where they have brought the Klingons, being at the point of extinction, close to it, trying to discover themselves. Very few houses remain. How do you guys like that? Did you think it was well done? Are you frustrated with that? What are your just basic thoughts?
I liked it. I liked it. I'm glad.
Too.
I'm glad they went there. And again, it's kind of, I want to say fun.
Sounds familiar.
Fun is not the right word, but the fact that they've, you know, done this. I guess this is not the first time they started down the path of the Klingons on the verge of, extinction.
Mhm. Yep,
Star Trek, the undiscovered
Star Trek
country.
6.
So they've just the fact that the Klingon Empire has had turmoil and turmoil and turmoil, and that you see this most recent version of turmoil. I liked it a lot. So again, after I would say if I'm ranking episodes, the first is the pilot, the second is Sam, the third is that one that what is it, Vox in Excelsior, Vox in Excelso, Vox in Excelso. Yeah, that would
Very
be
good.
my yes.
Oh, and Riker has a ship named after him, which was cool.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
So, but I
yeah, go
love,
ahead, Chris.
I love the episode overall. I thought like just dealing with why is it Jaden? That's his name.
Jaden Craig. Yep.
Jaden. Yeah, I liked his dealing with his family and seeing what his home life was like, and like how
Oh, yeah.
there's that really sweet moment
I
where
like
he thinks,
backstories.
"Oh, yeah, pardon."
I like backstories.
Yeah,
Like
and like
the
how he
Backstreet
thought
Boys? Oh, the
Backstreet Boys were great.
Backstory.
When they
Oh,
showed up in
okay.
the Klingon makeup, I was blown away. I couldn't believe they got the rights, and I don't know how they got the Backstreet Boys to come on the show. Sorry, that's really dumb. Steve was looking at me. But like being able to get that sweet moment where Jaden realizes that, his dad wasn't angry at him and didn't miss his shot because he was furious. It was because he wanted him to go off and explore Starfleet. I also love that the solution was, hey, Klingons don't like charity. They rather conquer. So it was like, we're going to let them feel like they're conquering us, even though they knew that they weren't. It was a very sweet, like, we understand your culture. We want to respect it. And we're going to help you find, like, we're going to give you what you need, but we're going to do it in a way that's respectful to your culture, in a way that I don't think Trek has always done. It's always strived to do it. But this is the first time, not really, because I feel like Dax and Worf, well, Dax specifically was very good at like, here's how we need to do if we're like interacting with the Klingons. But I thought that whole thing was really sweet, and I liked how they solved it. And I just like Jaden. I love his arc that he's going through.
Well, it's interesting because you're thinking about, okay, this is 800-900 years since we understood what Klingons were, which was basically, I'll kill you rather than say, hey, how you doing, buddy? Because I'd rather, just do you in. So you would know that in all these years, they would evolve socially. And yes, they would take on a softer edge. And definitely Jaden, he's amongst Klingons, he's very emotional and very soft-spoken. And he's someone who seems like, I'd rather befriend you than behead you. How's that?
That's a good teacher. I'd rather. I love that. That's almost up there with Worf's. No, beheadings are on Tuesdays.
Right, exactly.
So
Picard 3.
Now let's switch gears real quick before we start to wrap this up. There's one other thing I want to make sure that we point out to before, because we would be remiss if we didn't. But how do you guys feel about Betazoid and how that story arc? Did that sit well with you? Are you interested in it? Indifferent?
Yeah.
What do you feel?
I like that.
Chris.
I also just like the fact that they're relocating not the president, but they're relocating
the headquarters.
Headquarters to be on Beta
Z,
which is great because I've always felt like, and I love Star Trek, and I can criticize it, but one of my issues with Trek, and granted, it's because we're human and we're only from Earth, so that's our main point of view. But Trek has always been so Earth-centered that you almost forget that there's other planets in the Federation because it's always about Earth. So I thought it was a really nice way of showing that, hey, we're not just about Earth, and we want to become more, I guess, inclusive to all of our, like, we want to get out of our shell. We're getting back out there into space. We're recovering from the burn, and I think a great way of showing that is, hey, we're gonna make Beta Z be the headquarters. So now Beta Z will feel like it has much more of a say than it maybe did before. So I like that.
Yeah. I'm going to say something similar. Generally, I liked it. I didn't have a problem. But I had a conversation with a friend and colleague about this. And he was like, he pointed out, and ever since he pointed this out, I can't get this out of my head, is that like they wooed Beta Z back with this, but what about like everyone? Like, what about everyone else? Like, why is Beta Z so special in that way? Like, kind of, and I'm just like, to do an hour-long show, you do have to do things quickly because in reality, of course, this would have been years-long negotiations between, the fact that like at the Academy, they made this unilateral decision that's a little bit unrealistic. But again, for the sake of the show, it's fine. And again, I have no problem with it being on Beta Z. And I do like the ideas. Yes, like some things have to get away from being Earth-centric. But yeah, it happened very quickly, very weirdly, and in a very unrealistic way. And so I have not, but ever since he pointed that out, I'm like, oh, I can't get this out of my
was just
head.
glad that we finally got to see some kind of diplomatic negotiation that didn't get not messed up, but I feel like every time we get an episode where it's like, oh, we're gonna have a negotiation of some kind, something else happens. Like there's an episode of Enterprise where it's like, oh, Archer's going to mediate a dispute, and nobody thinks he can do it, and he's going to be able to prove that he can do it. He gets kidnapped, and it's like, well, then it just becomes a kidnap story. And so I like that we were able to see what's an actual negotiation like, which I feel like, again, very rarely we ever got to see in Star Trek.
But what I think really should happen is in a future episode, there should be an episode that continues this story where you've got one or two of the other Federation members. Yeah. They're like, hold on a second.
Hey,
we didn't agree to this. And so I think you can continue the drama of that in a slight, add a little element of realism.
So this may not be final, you're saying. You're saying it could be up for debate still.
I think it should be up for debate. But I do like the idea that the ultimate end on Beta Z is fine. I like the ultimate end being off Earth for what, the way reason that Cris stated was that, yes, this is a little too Earth-centric. It makes sense for us to kind of break away from that. But it was this was too clean and easy.
Yeah.
And in traditional TOS style, we solved the problem in the last 5 minutes.
Right.
And that's what they did.
Yeah.
Which
I bet
but
that's
it's TV.
some
It's fine. It
traditional
is
Star
TV.
Trek fans.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Taking headquarters away from Earth was probably a bridge too far. So a couple shout outs. Oded Fair, Admiral Vance. I really dig this guy as an admiral.
Yeah, me too.
I think he was one of my favorites in Discovery. I think he's fantastic as Admiral Vance. I will say, where the heck is Tilly? I'm waiting to see Tilly.
I think I heard that she's supposed to reappear in this some later on as an instructor.
Oh, okay. Cool.
That's what I remember. Something
Tilly.
about that.
I want more.
What happened to Michael Byrne? What happened to a lot of the other characters from
I think we're
Discovery?
Since they're
Can I also bring up something for Adeena and I, because we've been talking this whole episode, but we have not mentioned Genesis, and I bring her up because one, I actually like the character. But we gotta both say Genesis. That's exactly it. It's like, Genesis is loud. It's not. Planet Forbidden.
I dig.
We had not said that yet.
I dig. I think all of these cadets and for who they are and where they are. I think all the actors are doing a fine job.
Yes.
And I feel like they all have great chemistry with each other too. I'm buying it, and so that's kind of fun. So a shout out to all of the cadets that we have not. George Hawkins is doing a great job as Darren Remy. I
like Caleb's facial expressions. He does facial expressions really well.
I need to just pull up the
Sandro
cast.
Rasta is the actor's name. So shout out to you, Sandro. Also, guys, I mentioned that we would be remiss without mentioning the great Paul Giamatti. As kind of the heavy
He's so
villain.
goofy. He is so goofy.
I loved him. I love a lot of the stuff he's in. He's very versatile. I hope we get to see more of him too as this show continues. I hope
he's supposed to reoccur. He'll be the reoccurring villain, I believe. That will.
So and of course we have to get back to finding Caleb's mom, which we alluded to a little bit at the end of this episode. And so that story arc is going to be interesting. And
Honestly,
again,
that honestly, I don't care. I'll be honest. I don't care.
What?
I don't care. Like
Oh,
that to me is
wow.
like not the
But
interest.
you're a mom.
I know.
kind of feel
Your
that
son
too.
is out there somewhere, and you were in
Well,
prison.
But
I
here's
am-
now that's but here's the
What?
thing that they've already set up. They've already kind of implied she's been out for a while.
Yeah.
And well, then
And
why
it's for a
hasn't?
good reason. It's for
Well,
a good reason.
Is she
Or-
designing the Death Star? Is that what's
It's because
going on
she
here?
is still under. She still owes Nusbraka something.
Or
I mean,
she could be like a. There are in the it's sad. It is really, 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 really sad. But there are in the universe parents that didn't really want to be parents, parents that don't care, parents that abandon their kids.
That's
It is possible that
heartbreaking.
after the span of time of span of separation, it is
Yeah.
it's hard. It is again, it's hard to imagine because we don't want to think that parents can do that. We don't want to
Yeah.
think that moms can do that, but it's
Adeena,
technically possible.
Adeena,
I
just
don't
have-
think it's the case. I think there's going to be some
I don't want to be a
deeper-
downer.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm
Chris
sorry.
and I
But I'm
and
also-
Steve, listen, fellas, and I mean this, fellas, okay? Chris and Steve and myself, we all have faith of the heart, Adeena, okay?
Yes.
We believe in this mom's ability to find her son and or be found, and there's a good story arc there. We hope.
But
it may not be. You're
I'm
But I
right.
also
They'll
agree
get
with
around back
Adeena
to it.
that
They'll
I'm
get
not.
back
I'm
to
not
it.
terribly
I'm
interested.
not loving it.
Yeah.
I don't dislike it, but it's not
Yeah.
like what I'm watching it for.
It just
I'm
kind of fell
curious
off the
about
cliff,
it.
so to speak, after the first episode.
Yeah, and
I am
I'm okay with that.
Wow, I'm shocked.
So,
I know.
was that a reference to the crash, the shuttle crash?
That was the most ridiculous
Steve.
shuttlecraft in all of Star Trek history. Nobody
Yes.
should have survived that shuttlecraft.
No.
It was spectacular. My son, even watching it with me, because he's seen the first episode, he was like, "Ooh!" He goes, "Surely they're dead. Those guys are all dead."
Yes.
And then they're not dead. He goes, "What in the world is happening in Star Trek right now?"
They just make everything out of very soft material. That's all. Okay.
Right. It's
all
it's
nerve.
the anti-grav, right? It's
That's
it's
right.
whatever.
It's all nerve.
It's
Keeping them in the right
okay.
direction. Well, guys, fans of the Big Sci-Fi Podcast and of Star Trek, thank you for listening to our opinions, ideas, and feelings. We have a lot of them. And in some cases, we have none when it comes to mother and sons being separated for long periods of time.
No,
Apparently.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that. That is not what I said. I just said that him finding his mom is not why I'm watching the show. I'm not necessarily interested. Like, I don't need for that to happen.
All
like
right,
the
all
show.
right, all right.
That's all I said.
You've been listening to our feelings about Starfleet Academy and the current state of Trek, too. I hope you enjoyed the banter, the rabbit trails, the laughter, and the friendly arguments. They really are friendly folks. And most of all, the friendship that we share as co-hosts of the biggest sci-fi podcast in the galaxy. Until next time, be kind to each other, listen to each other, and be a part of the change in the world around you. Until next time, live long and prosper, my friends. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Big Sci-Fi Podcast. We're a proud part of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network, and you can listen to more of our over 150 episodes at trekgeeks.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel now. Until next time, live long and prosper.